Hey everybody, it's Jonah Lupton with another episode of Startup Sense. Hope you're all having a great day. We got another exciting episode for you today. On the phone, I have Daniel Bjarne. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He's actually calling us from Sweden. He is the co-founder of a company called SchoolApply, and we're going to talk in a second about what they do. But Dan, how are you today?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for having me, Jonah.
You got it, man. So why are you in Sweden?
So I share my life between Sweden, Dubai, and Boston in the US, and I'm here sort of 50% of the time.
Awesome. So tell us, before we start talking about your company, SchoolApply, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Right. So I'm a 37-year-old entrepreneur. I come from a small town called Gothenburg. Most people know the town because that's where we make Volvos, and it usually rains all the time. So it's very much sort of an industrial town. I spent my career first building a startup, one of the first e-commerce startups in the Nordics. I worked for Google for a while. And then I entered education, where I've been now for the last 8 years, and focusing on helping international students further their education abroad.
Awesome. So tell us exactly what SchoolApply does.
So SchoolApply is like a booking.com for higher education. So what we do is international students come to us and say, hey, I want to study abroad. I don't know where, and I don't know where I would get accepted. So based on who they are, what they want to do, their academic history, and what their budget is like, we will match them and pair them up with the right institutions in the US, UK, or Canada. And we help them through the whole process from finding the right school to actually enrolling and boarding the plane. So it's a very stretched out, long process that we manage for them.
How long does that process usually take, from the time where, they first come to you to when applications get submitted to they actually shipping off to the college?
Well, it's several months, and it's also a cultural thing, which is kind of funny. It's very much stereotypical. If you take German students, they, as you can imagine, they plan early, probably a year in advance, and really do their selection process carefully. And then, of course, they enroll the following year. In other later markets or countries where people apply later, it can be as short as down to a couple of weeks. But you also have to consider the visa process. So our average is around 3-4 months.
Okay. How big is this market? I mean, how many, let's just use the US, for instance. I mean, how many international students are coming into the US every year?
Well, there was just a report now that you guys have more than 1 million students enrolling in the US. Globally, it's 4 million students studying abroad at the university.
Jeez. Now, what was the process before SchoolApply for some of these students to find, the right school that kind of matched their needs?
Well, the reason we started SchoolApply was that there wasn't an online alternative to help these students. And in many cases when students come from places like China or India or Nigeria, they're left with external advisors. They work pretty much like a counselor works, but they only work with a limited selection of universities and colleges. And these counselors are compensated by the institutions, so they only recruit for a limited number of institutions.
Gotcha.
And therefore, they will steer these students to a handful of schools.
Right. So they're not really.
And we thought that was wrong. And no, exactly. They're not really maximizing the chances for these students.
Right. They're certainly not being independent advisors. They kind of have ulterior motives if they're being paid to steer the student in any direction, one way or the other. And I assume you guys are more, you're a platform that connects them with the school that best fits them, right? Regardless of which state it may be in or what the kickback might be? Because I'm sure, I mean, you guys must make you must make money somewhere along the process, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the business model for us is pretty much the same. It's just that we have decided to be agnostic about the school choice and allow people to apply to any college that they desire. And we list every institution that is ranked by an external ranking body like the US News, for instance. And therefore, we can always offer students anything. And since we are an online company, a platform company, and we rely on tech and efficiency, we can survive with smaller margins than an offline agent could do.
Now, would you say on average students are coming to the platform and, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of different search criteria they could put in, but are they searching for specific majors, or is it more about, I want to be in this city? And then inside of that city, they'll try to figure out what the right fit is. Like, do they know where they want to go? Like, are they coming to the platform and saying, I want to be in Boston, or I want to be in New York, or I want to be in Los Angeles?
The well-informed students, they do, definitely. But the typical student, they're more focused on a country, actually. So they will say, okay, I want to go to the US. I want to study robotics. Where are the best robotics programs in the US? And then they could apply to one university in California, one in Texas, and one in Massachusetts.
That's awesome. What other countries are students looking at, in terms of, offering the best higher education?
I think Canada is definitely on the rise. They've become more student friendly for international students. Their tuition is usually lower. So there's definitely a big interest for Canada, especially from China and the Middle East. If you look at the UK, I think there's a constant battle between the UK and the US. And now, when Brexit happened, people started to panic and said, hey, now all these UK-bound students will go to the US instead. And now there's uncertainty after the US election. And it's not like nothing has really happened, but people are getting a little bit nervous.
Right. What, where are you seeing U.S. students want to go? Because I'm sure some of them they like the idea of studying overseas, being exposed to new cultures. Is there like a top 2 or 3 countries where you see U.S. students applying to?
UK is definitely number one, but for us, we don't have that many U.S. students coming through us, actually, because we're marketing towards international students from Middle East, India, Southeast Asia, Africa.
Okay. I mean, I would certainly think that the U.S. students that are looking to go overseas probably have more resources around them to help them make a good decision, whereas I would think a lot of those international students may not have the same resources.
Exactly. So if you're already in university and you want to do a 1-year exchange, there's usually a route for that. The typical student that comes to us, they're in high school and they want to do an undergraduate degree abroad. So for them, they're starting from scratch. And if you are from India, there's no real sort of connection between the high school and a college in the US.
Oh, right. So take us through the process. Say I'm a 17-year-old high school student in, any one of those foreign countries, maybe it's India, and I want to go to the US. So I hear about your platform. So I go to what, SchoolApply.com?
Yep. You type in SchoolApply.com, and then you tell us you want to go to the US, you want to study, let's say, engineering, and your budget is maximum $25,000 per year in tuition net. And you're interested in top ranked schools for computer engineering. That will give you a selection of colleges and universities that you can go to that would accept you, and you're able to sift through a lot of profiles for these programs, understanding what they're really good at, going through the most important metrics like minimum GPA, etc., so that you have a chance if you apply. And once you've made sort of your own list or your own selection, you can shortlist any of these programs, which then ends up sort of in your shopping basket on our site. And once you have that selection done with your little shopping cart, you can start your application straight on our site. And all of these shortlisted programs that you've added will be added to your application. So by doing this, you can immediately apply to, let's say, 5 different universities in one go. And then they start to enter all their information, who they are, where they've studied before, their grade certificates, passport, etc., etc. There's a lot of documentation around this, and we gather all this information in one place. And then once the student is done with their application, we send it forward to the university.
Okay. And I mean, I assume each university has a slightly different application process, probably different questions, that they want to have on the essay, right? So it's going to vary from school to school.
It does. Our generic application process captures 95% of the question. In a few cases, you have to ask for additional essays or certain questions that the college would want to know about. But actually, we do cover most of the questions they would want to know about. And for the institutions that we work closer with, we usually offer them to add their question to our questionnaire.
And then what happens with student visas? At what point can someone apply for one? Do they have to be accepted to a university in the U.S. before they can get one?
Yeah, exactly. So once they're accepted, the school then issues a certificate that says that student so-and-so has been accepted. Student then takes that and goes through the formal visa process that usually includes an interview at the embassy.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Where they will also need to show their official documents supporting their application in original.
How long does the student visa process typically take?
It can take anything from 2 weeks to a very long time.
Yeah, I've heard. And it's probably not cheap either, right?
No, there's a little administrative fee, but in relation to the total ticket for studying abroad, it's not big.
Okay. I mean, I know there's work visas. I've heard work visas can take a long time and get expensive too. So just a lot of different fees along the way. Now, what types of marketing are you guys doing? What marketing strategies in other countries is working, and what works in one country? Does it work in another country, or is every country kind of its own little animal?
Yeah, that's quite interesting, actually. We are marketing towards students in places like Ghana and Nigeria. We're also marketing to students in the United Arab Emirates, and those are, directly opposite in terms of behavior.
Right.
In Ghana and Nigeria, people
wealth too, right? Like I would think that there's a lot of wealth in the Middle East. There's probably not much wealth in Ghana and Nigeria.
Exactly. So the tricky part in Ghana and Nigeria is to find the quality, because it's there. There are really great students that are ready to go and study abroad, but there's also a lot of people just clicking on ads that look like this is a way for me to get out of the country. Right. And, that's not the route that we can offer. And in the Middle East, there, like you said, you're working with a much more sophisticated, wealthy population. But there it's more about really convincing them that it's the right choice to go abroad, because they're not as motivated.
You mean the Middle East students aren't as motivated?
No, I think that they have a more skeptical approach to to studying abroad. I think for them, a lot of them do it, but I think they would prefer to stay in the Middle East if they could. Well, a large portion of them would.
Are there any good? Are there any good universities in the Middle East? I mean, I'm sure there's got to be some, but is there enough?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them. There's the American University in Dubai. They're very good. We're working with a Canadian University of Dubai. It's another one. There's a great French university called Sorbonne in Abu Dhabi, and more. There's tons of them, and usually it's Western universities that have opened up campuses in the Middle East.
Gotcha. Now, what did you do before this? I mean, before, you had to become an expert on global universities. I mean, what really pushed you into this? Was it a specific pain point, that you experienced, or a family member or a friend, or you just saw a huge market with no one solving it?
So I was working for a global education company, primarily in high schools, and we ran a bunch of boarding schools globally in the UK and the US, and recruited from China, etc. And what I saw, well, this was like first-hand experience. I met families in China that were misled by agents to study at certain colleges where they didn't really get value for their money. I met this family, and they had all come together to sponsor this kid's education. And we're talking a lot of money here. It's 4 years. I think it was about 25K per year. So $100,000 in total. And this student had worked so hard for multiple years in practicing their English and getting a great English test score, SAT training, etc., etc. And in less than an hour, this agent completely changed his future by sending him off to the wrong college. And it wasn't like there was something wrong with the college, but this student could have gone into Ivy League. His scores were amazing. He played multiple instruments, super creative, ticked so many boxes. And that just felt so wrong to me. And I was like, this problem has to be big. And then I started digging and realized it was. And, after looking at this industry and realizing that no one is really doing anything online here, we take for granted today that there's an online alternative for everything, but in reality, it's not. And it's a massive industry that no one really knows about. Total, every year, this agent commission business is more than $1 million for international students. Sorry, $1 billion.
I was going to say, yeah, I bet it's way more than
$1 million. That would
right.
be.
I believe it. I mean, you said earlier, at least 1 million students are going to a school outside of their country every year, right? At least
4
million. 4 million. Okay.
1 million in the US. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. So 4 million. So even if you just use the US alone, I got my little trusty calculator out. I mean, if you do, 1 million students a year times, 25,000, which is probably what they're paying per year on average, that's $25 billion a year.
Yeah.
In international students coming into the U.S.
It's massive.
Tuition. That's massive. $25 billion a year is a huge number. I never would have guessed it was actually that large. So,
and then international students also spend money once they come to a country and nurture the local economy. So if you take that into account, you're looking at a pretty significant effect on GDP.
Right. Like I was telling you before in our pre-call, when I used to live in Boston, one of the buildings I lived in, it was a nice, expensive building, but, I lived on the 15th floor. The 30th floor penthouse was rented out to an international student, 18, 19 years old, driving a Ferrari, paying 8, 9, 10 grand a month in rent, going out to the nicest restaurants and the clubs and buying the nicest clothes. And that's just one person in Boston. Boston has, I think, 250,000 college kids. I'm sure at least 10, 15, 20% of them are international students now, spending a ton of money. probably spending more money than the US based kids that are going to those schools. So, yep.
Someone told me in this industry, I'm not sure if it's correct, but someone told me that international students spend as much money as they do on tuition on, living costs.
Oh, I believe it. Oh, for sure. No doubt.
So then your 25 billions would be 50. So.
A year. Wow.
Yeah.
Huge market. Huge market. So what specific, marketing strategies in some of these countries, like, is it Facebook ads? Is it, Google ads? Are you guys running, sponsorships with, partners and things like that? Like, how are you actually finding these students and driving them to your platform?
Yeah, I think, you nailed it. It's the classic online marketing mix of paid search, paid ads on social media, with a combination of organic as well. So we do work hard on making sure that our content is appealing to the search engines, that our stories are shared on Facebook, and Facebook has actually worked really well for us.
Yeah, I bet.
Better than I thought. Because I think, in the US and in Europe, people are a little bit skeptical about the ads that end up on your newsfeed all the time. But that's certainly not the case for markets. People are actually very engaged by them. And then we also do a lot of sponsored content where we seed out stories about students that have traveled abroad and what to think about when you create your essay or create your application.
Right. I can see where Facebook,
those things are working really well.
Because Facebook has all the demographic information you want, people's ages, their locations, their interests, so you can really target people that are, 15 to 18 years old that, enjoy traveling and, things like that. I mean, you can target them with your ads, and those are the people you probably want to reach, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then for us, remarketing works really well too. Of course, it's a lengthy process, just discovering and deciding on where to study. And you have, you got to be humble and understand that many of your users, they're not going to spend 30 minutes or an hour on your site the first time. So for us, it's very important to get them back. And in that sense, remarketing is working very well for us.
So what kind of conversion rates do you guys see? I mean, from the people, that come to the website, create a profile, to actually apply and then actually get accepted and actually, ship off to a university. I mean, I know there's probably a lot of metrics and conversion numbers that you guys look along the way, but any that you can share?
Yeah, we measure it in 20 steps. So it's a pretty long process and huge fallout, because a lot of people are interested, few decide to go.
Right.
If you look at our initial conversion rate for signups and people creating accounts on our site, we have a very, very high conversion rate. We're close to 10%.
That's really good. Yeah.
It's insanely good. Way better than I thought it would be when we launched. Then after that, there's, like I said, massive fallout. I can't tell you exactly what the bottom line conversion rate is, but I can say the average in the education industry is about 1% from leads to enrolled students.
Okay. So maybe 1 out of 100 that create a profile actually apply to a college, something along those lines?
Or enroll in a college, yeah.
Okay, enroll. So, what percentage of students that do apply to, a foreign university are being accepted? And for the ones that don't get accepted, is there any, common reason as to why? Is it money? Is it grades? Anything you can share?
In general, the acceptance rate for international students tend to be pretty low for universities. A lot of these applications aren't complete, and they might be missing a test score, or they might be missing grades, transcripts that you can translate into the US or UK system. What we do as an intermediary here is to vet all the applications that we forward. So before we even send them to an admission department, we make sure that they contain all the info that this particular institution wants. So for us, the acceptance rate is quite high. We have very few rejections from the school side, but then of course it's down to the student, and things change. They might fall in love and want to stay, or turned out they didn't have enough cash to support themselves, or the visa got rejected. But usually what we do is to try to hedge their bets and make sure that they're accept one place, so that they have some options.
Now, do you guys get involved with the study abroad programs?
How do you mean study abroad programs?
Well, because I know a lot of my
exchange
friends,
programs.
Yeah, they go somewhere for a semester.
Mm-hmm. No, we've been asked by a couple of our partner universities to do that, but and it's definitely an interesting angle to what we do, because I do want to create this hub for international mobility students. That's the long-term aim for us. But right now we're just too busy with the core, which is helping international students find a home in UK, US, and Canada.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the whole study abroad or student exchange program. I mean, it's a short period of time, but it is an entire kind of business model onto itself. I mean, certainly you guys.
There's a lot of value for students.
What any universities in the U.S. that students have really gravitated towards? I mean, like, or what universities in the U.S. are taking the most international students? Any that come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the typical international student profile, they will know all the Ivy League schools. So that's where they start. They will start by saying, "Hey, I want to study at Harvard or Princeton or Yale or Stanford," but it's usually not where they end up applying, because you have to look at
be realistic too. Yeah,
and be realistic about their opportunities, and that's where I think we play a major role for them, is to help them to see, okay, maybe I'm not going to be able to get in here. Maybe I should apply just to give it a go, but the acceptance rate is 4%, so chances are slim. and then you save up sort of with a second tier, and those institutions these students have no idea about.
Now, how do you guys? So, I know a lot of these countries have very strong family cultures, right? Where it's almost unheard of for the son or the daughter to leave the family at a young age. So an 18-year-old coming from India over to the US, I mean, how big of a deal is that for them? And then do you actually see the family sometimes come over too?
It's a huge deal. Many of the students that apply through us, they don't have a passport yet. They haven't even been outside their country. And, of course, for them, the whole family, it's like flying to the moon. And which is strange, for someone like me, because I think I've been in Dubai 20 times this year, and in the US probably 10 times. But
you fly a lot.
For them, it's like, yeah, I do. For them, you got to realize it's like when you made that first trip, and you saw maybe a neighboring country. So you got to take that into account. And in a lot of cases, family go even before the students enroll, just to do a sort of visit on campus, making sure that this is a place where my son or daughter will prosper. So there's definitely a big sort of cultural thing there, and it is a big cultural step for them to do this, but it's also very rewarding.
I mean, how does that look in their own country? Like, do you think their former classmates, the people their age in their town or city, are envious that they get to go to the US or the UK to study?
Yeah, we see that a lot as well. When one student apply, get accepted, usually they start referring their friends, right. And all of a sudden you have a cousin and a sister and your classmates. Yeah, definitely.
becomes like a very elite status thing.
Yeah, they create their own little cluster.
Let's talk
places.
about so fundraising, right? That's a big part of the founders that I bring on the show. Most of them have raised money. I know you guys have raised about $1.2 million according to Crunchbase. Just take us through that real quick. When you decided to raise money, how you approached the investors, who you finally closed, what was kind of the big selling point for them, and then, what value those investors have added since you guys closed them.
So when we decided to do this, everything was pretty, up in the air. I had no previous experience in talking to investors, and my co-founder and I, we just started getting meetings with VCs and incubators and anyone who would take our call, really, just to get an idea of the landscape. And we quickly understood that we were not in a position to land an investment from sort of a venture capital firm. Many of them don't want to invest at seed stage, and definitely not before you've launched an MVP, or at least you have some traction to show.
You guys were raising. You started it really early.
We raised before launch. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that in itself was very hard. Obviously, my co-founder and I, we had put some investment ourselves into the business, but that wasn't enough to get us launch ready. So we were pretty desperate to find investors. And I think during this time last year, when we decided to go for business angels instead, and people that would more sort of consider the personal aspect, and they probably invested 80% on trust more than dissecting your business plan. That changed the game for us, and we found some really great people that not only believed in the future of this idea, but also believed in us. And that changed it for us.
Awesome. So the 1.2 million, how many different investors made up that round?
8. Okay. So we have 8 business angels that invested.
Sweet. And then how often do you engage with them? Is it like you talk to them once a week, once a month, once a quarter?
We've organized it pretty well. So we have one of them. He's sort of representing the all the shareholders on the board, and speaks for them. I inform everyone every month with a regular report on how we're doing, and every quarter I send out a more extensive report with financials as well. And they're all very supporting, but I think that's the other side of business angels. They're also very keen on knowing every little details, because many of them are also entrepreneurs, and they're just very excited about growing a business. But I appreciate those calls, because that's fun. You're talking, they're even more like friends than just investors.
Do any of them come from the education industry, where they see, like they saw firsthand how big of a problem this was, or they're just kind of outsiders looking in, realizing that someone needed to fix it?
We have one investor who's in employer branding, so it's a related field. He works with students that are in university, and he helps to connect them with great employers. So you could say, so they understand. Well, I say they because it's a company, but he understands what we're trying to do, and I think he saw that we're covering a slightly different demographic than he is, and there's potential synergies between what he does and what we do.
Nice. Now, do you guys have to get permission from the universities to put them on your platform?
No, we don't. So to list universities, I mean, we're only using public domain information. Okay. We allow universities to change their content. If something is wrong, we change it too. If they send a request to us, we'll change it immediately. Of course, we vet it with an external source. We also allow them to log in and directly change their content on our website.
Gotcha. Okay. So certainly you guys are doing well on the university side. I mean, it sounds like you're probably going to stay there for now. It's a big market. I think we both, already talked about how enormous it really is. Is there anything that is kind of next on the roadmap? Whether it is, student exchange programs, or whether it's, charter schools or private high schools or any of that stuff, or you're just ignoring it for now and really staying focused?
First, I think the opportunity for us on university, we've just scratched the surface. We want to add more partner schools to the portfolio. Next year, we are banking on head on the platter to place 3,000 students, and that's a lot for for a 1-year-old company. To do that, we are going to need about 500 partner schools.
Wow.
Or partner universities, and so that's a challenge. To add to that, on the tech side, we're doing a lot of interesting things, like we're enabling self-service for institutions, so they can really review their applicants through our system, as well as owning all their content pieces with inline editing and instant publishing. That's going to be a huge thing for us, and I think a huge help for our partners as well. Those are a couple of big things.
How big is your company right now, besides you and your co-founder?
We're actually 20 people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And most of them are based in Dubai. That's where we help our students. Then we have 3 people working for us in the US.
Cool. And how do you guys kind of break up? What's the breakup between, like, engineering, management, sales and marketing? Like, how big is each department?
Well, right now we're pretty heavy on customer support. We're definitely lean on management, marketing, and tech. Next year we will increase our investment on technology. We're currently 4 full-time, but that's going to be the group of people that we invest the most in next year.
Okay. I mean, eventually, do you guys do you need ambassadors in each high school in every country? Like, I'm just trying to think of how you just drive more.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. It's strange for an online company to say we need ambassadors to go around and talk about us, but it's very efficient, and it's good people know good people. Once we have accepted students, it's a very high likelihood that they will talk well about us and will endorse us to their friends. So that's definitely something that we're working on.
Cool. And then with regards to your company, what's the one big challenge that you guys are working on right now?
The biggest challenge for us right now is to secure enough partnerships so that we can offer all thinkable programs and a smooth pathway into those programs.
Okay. And then at what point do you guys think you'll need to go out and raise more money?
We are raising money right now, actually, amongst our investors and a few potential new ones. We are planning to do a big round mid next year. Okay. Sort of a Series A, Series B round.
Cool. Hope that goes well. Dealing with investors and fundraising it's not fun, but it is a critical part of the growth cycle. So,
I guess the fun part is you get to talk about your baby, your business, true. And I enjoy that. I never get bored of that.
And at this point, it's more fun because you have a business, you have traction, you have revenue, you have something to show them. It's a lot harder raising money in the very beginning before you've even launched and you haven't really proven anything. Yeah. Then it's like so you're painting the vision and they don't necessarily buy it. But now you guys have started to show that vision can come to life. So. Definitely gets a little bit more fun after you have the traction. What is if you could be mentored by anyone, who would it be?
If I could be mentored with anyone, well, it will sound very cliche, but I do think I have to say Elon Musk. Right now, I'm just blown away with anything he did. And I was at the Web Summit in Portugal last week and saw the launch of the new high-speed train, and it's incredible what that man is capable of. approval of. So Elon Musk.
He's the ultimate parallel entrepreneur, where he just seems to be able to take on anything at the same time and knock it out of the park. Like I think the most incredible thing, after he cashed out of PayPal for like $180 million, rather than buy a house and buy a big boat and buy a jet like most people would do, he went and started sending that money back into those three companies. If that's not the definition of all in, I don't know what is.
It's pretty bold, that's for sure.
And what is your favorite piece of software that you guys use on a daily basis that you haven't built internally? So, like a third-party piece of software.
Well, I use Skype probably 100 times per day. So I would say Skype. It's a pretty rudimentary piece of software, but it's very good. I use it for inbound, outbound. I connect calls. I have cell phones in 3 countries, and it really helps.
Yeah, I mean, especially you're on the phone with people in different parts of the world every day, so you don't want to be doing that kind of talking on cell phones probably. So that's where Skype comes in handy.
Okay.
And where do you see the company in 2 to 3 years?
In 2 to 3 years, we will have opened an office in China. That's going to be a big thing for us. We are looking at a hub similar to what we have in Dubai for Latin America, and Miami is actually a great option for us to recruit from Latin American countries. And we will have a pretty strong presence in the US.
Awesome. And do you think you guys can stay independent, or do you think at some point the company will be acquired by a larger global education company?
I think for us as co-founders, we don't think so much about an exit as we're not driven by just creating wealth, because we think there's so much we can do in this space for probably the next 30 years. And of course, this will take a lot of cash to grow the business in that direction. I'd rather look at an IPO or some private equity type of firm rather than an education company, actually.
Cool. And then, I mean, we talked a lot about colleges and universities. What about like the online learning? I mean, at what point are you guys going to try to connect people with like the online education space?
We will have to do it pretty soon. A lot of our partners, our partner universities, already run online courses and
Right.
And invest heavily in this. So for them, we have to do it. I think it also caters to a student base that we're not really satisfying today. So that's going to help tremendously. And I think the whole concept of studying at university will eventually change. I think people will look at it more from a lifelong learning perspective, where you could take a 2-week course taught by the best educators in podcasting, and how awesome would that be? And if you can do those kind of things online, and maybe sometimes hybrid for people with stressful lives like myself, that's an awesome thing.
I totally agree.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, the vision for this is that we create a meeting place between educators and students, and it doesn't have to be international students traveling for 3 years to study abroad.
Right. I totally agree. I mean, if you want to be a great marketing person, I don't know if there's so much value in going to a university for 4 years where only like a third of your classes are actually marketing, and then the other 2/3 are the other basic classes that they make you take, which have nothing to do with marketing. Like if you want to be a great marketing person, I feel like you should be able to take as many marketing classes as you want. And that's where I think there is some sort of a hybrid, that's what the future looks like. It's a hybrid of, being on campus half the week, so you have some face-to-face interaction, and then the other half is, online learning, either from those professors or the best professors in the country that you can tap into, through the internet. So I'm curious to see where it goes, and hopefully you guys can help some of these international people get there too.
Yeah, totally.
I guess that's pretty much it. I typically ask, actually, I'll ask you this one too. I don't know if it's going to be appropriate, but what is your favorite TV show?
My favorite TV show. I do watch a lot of TV shows actually. Netflix and HBO. Right now, I watch Peaky Blinders. Do you know that one?
No, I mean, like when you're in Sweden, can you get US TV shows, or is it through Netflix?
Netflix or HBO. Yeah, I have some US channels, but I prefer to stream everything.
Right, right, okay. No, I haven't heard that one yet. What's that one about?
It's about a gangster family in Birmingham in the UK, sort of post the First World War. It's a pretty interesting one. No, but I would say favorite one. It used to be Entourage.
Yeah, same here.
I think I've watched it. I watched most of those episodes multiple times. I still do now and then.
But I never saw the movie. Have you seen the Entourage movie?
I have, yeah.
Is it any good? I mean, I didn't get the best reviews.
It's worth seeing, but it doesn't come close to the TV show. I think
The show was epic. Definitely.
They just put too much content in one.
Right.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, that's pretty much it. I guess we'll wrap up with one last question. For someone looking to start a business in the next 12 months, what piece of advice would you give to them?
I would say, for anyone looking at starting their own business, the hardest thing for them is going to be to let go of what they have. And I would recommend anyone, well, of course, cautiously think about what they're going to get instead. Because, yeah, you might sacrifice a few things. You might have a well-paid job or just a job, but doing your own thing is so rewarding, and you immediately stop thinking about getting a promotion or the biggest paycheck, because when you're building something and it's you don't care about those sort of material things anymore. It's about yourself, what you can do, and how you change the lives of your customers.
Totally agree, man. I could not agree anymore. Once you become an entrepreneur, there's no way you ever want to go back to that 9-to-5 desk job, cubicle life. You're on your own, you're creating your own future, you're chasing your dream. And I mean, it's an addiction. So, and I agree, it's extremely rewarding, both personally and financially. So, well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, man. I really appreciate it. I actually didn't know you were in Sweden. What time is it in Sweden right now?
It's 6 p.m. So it's not,
okay. That's not too bad.
Problematic time at all. No.
Well,
it's actually when I peak.
What's that?
It's actually when I peak. I'm definitely an evening person. My wife would attest to that.
Is it light, or it's at 6 p.m. in Sweden right now? Is it light or dark outside?
Oh, it's so dark.
It's dark. Okay.
Pitch black.
Okay. That's how it is here at 6 o'clock now too. So I hate it. In the summertime, it's, the sun sets at like 8:30. And then this time of year, the sun sets at like 4:30. It's miserable. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, man. I know you're a busy guy.
Well, you got to come and visit us in Dubai at some time.
What's that? Come to Dubai?
Sunshine Dose. Yeah, come and visit us there.
I've never been there. I've always wanted to go. So maybe this is what gets me there. That'd be pretty cool. I've seen pictures of Dubai and the skyline, and just there's so much money over there. Like, it's just, I feel like there's like a Lamborghini or a Bugatti like every other parking spot. There's a $500,000 car sitting there. So it's got to be crazy, right?
Yeah, it is crazy, but it's an awesome place for car spotting. And going there as a tourist, it's not that expensive actually.
Really?
You get a lot of value there. Yeah. Because usually, all these massive buildings, they're sort of sponsored by zero interest rate from the state, and right. They're so expansive in their tourism that they build more than they need, really.
Is there a tech community or a startup community in Dubai?
Yeah, there is one. It's definitely growing. We're in contact with a few tech companies. Usually they're funded or they're founded by Westerners, but there is a couple of locals running successful startups there as well.
Interesting. Because I mean, one of my companies is we do soundproofing for hotels, and we've created a soundproof paint product. So, we're going to be launching this for the hotel market in the next few months. And certainly Dubai is like, becoming one of the luxury hotel market capitals of the world. So, I mean, I'm sure at some point
that's perfect.
Yeah, I'll be coming over there for some business opportunities, I hope. So, yeah, hopefully we get a chance to meet then.
Well,
So,
you have to let me know then. It'd be great to host you.
for sure, man. I appreciate that. Well, I want to wish you continued success with your company and the upcoming fundraising and everything else you guys have going on. Let's keep in touch, and feel free to come back on the show anytime and give us some updates.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
You got it, man. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.
Likewise. Take care.